The Russian invasion of Ukraine has led to President Zelensky's approval ratings get tripled, reaching a whopping 90%, as opposed to 21% before the Ukrainian war. Despite facing the major challenges and impediments, as you already know, in the past to remain in power, Zelensky's image has taken a whole new meaning and makeover of a poster child of Ukrainian patriotism. Here's a look.
The war in Ukraine has entered phase 2, and one would wonder if there is any hope left for Ukraine at this point. Well, it appears the world has shown immense faith in Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. Yes, the war has catapulted Zelensky's approval ratings to a whopping 90%, as opposed to the 21% before the Russian invasion began. Ratings prior to the war showed how Ukraine was never so confident about the comedian-turned-president. In fact, during his presidential campaign, Zelensky had received a healthy 73% in support, but all that hype evaporated quickly. Ukrainian citizens were looking for change, which is why they voted out incumbent president Petro Poroshenko. Volodymyr Zelensky was fresh and a new alternative to the old elites. His unconventional image worked in his favor, winning him the presidency. But Zelensky's hype nosedived by 2020 and his approval ratings suffered a scathing dip. In 2021, his approval ratings dropped to 24.7%. People's trust in him fell because around the time, Pandora Papers revealed that Zelensky was amongst those world leaders who held offshore companies. This was in direct contrast with his anti-establishment and anti-corruption crusader image. However, Zelensky tried justifying himself, claiming those companies were established only to defend his businesses in Ukraine. Besides, there were several election promises that Zelensky failed to deliver. Zelensky was also widely criticized for deepening his alliance with the far-right neo-Nazi forces in Ukraine, especially when news broke out of his involvement with convicted criminal Serhiy Stanenko and how Zelensky tried to crown him as chief of Ukraine's security service. But now that's a tale of the past. Zelensky has got a whole new image makeover. He's now viewed as a glorious, brave and a gallant president of the embattled country. He risked his life staying in Ukraine, survived assassination attempts and has been consolidating support for Ukraine, staying on the front lines day on day. Zelensky now is truly the poster child of Ukrainian patriotism, trying to fend off the Russian invasion. Bureau Report, India Today.
The Ukraine invasion has taken a toll on President Zelensky. The biggest indicator is how his attire has changed from that of a president in a suit to a leader leading from the front in an olive green t-shirt. Take a look.
A clean-shaven President Zelensky in his suit and tie addressed his nation on February 22nd amid gathering Russian war clouds. Weeks later, dressed in an army jacket, a bulletproof vest and unkempt beard, and often sporting a bulletproof army helmet, this is President Zelensky reinventing himself, changing his attire as per the need to lead his nation locked in a fierce fight back. The war has taken a toll on the sartorial sense of President Volodymyr Zelensky, transforming a suave, urbane and nattily dressed president in a tailored suit into a wartime president in combat fatigue, battle-ready and boosting the morale of his forces.
Ukraine is defending and would not give its freedom, whatever they think in Moscow. Russia cowardly attacked our country early in the morning, very much like Nazi Germany did during the Second World War.
Presidents
do not usually write down addresses like this. But today, I have to say just that. To talk about the discoveries in Bucha and other cities from where the occupiers were expelled. Hundreds of people tortured, killed, and civilians executed. Bodies on the street. Booby-trapped areas. Even the bodies of the dead are booby-trapped. Widespread aftermath of looting. Concentrated evil has visited our land. The killers, executioners, rapists, murderers who call themselves an army and who deserve only death after what they have done.
Zelensky has also traded his suit for a plain green round-neck t-shirt, popular with soldiers ever since Russia waged war on Ukraine. From addressing the United Nations, the US Congress, the EU Parliament and the Grammys, the wartime president Zelensky's dressing sense has made him a cult figure for those who back Ukraine, sending a message that the wartime president is leading from the front.
The UN system must be reformed immediately so that the right of veto will not become the right of a death, so that there is a fair representation of all world regions in the Security Council.
Zelensky's military round-neck t-shirt has become a fashion trend as well, making it popular for t-shirt motif across the world. The change in appearance for a president is usually that of graying hair, but Zelensky's transformation shows how times are tough for Ukraine. And what can be a better symbol of hope and strength than an olive green shirt-clad president who switches into combat dress in solidarity? A connect between the president and the army fighting for the motherland. Choosing the most accessible garment around, Zelensky's message is clear. He's in solidarity with Ukrainians. Bureau Report, India Today.
India continues to forge its own diplomatic path amidst Cold War 2.0. Foreign Minister Jaishankar, speaking in the parliament, set the record straight on India's stance, declaring that India has chosen to be on the side of peace and will put its own interest in the well-being of its population first. This is a new Fearless India Rising. Here's a look.
As the Ukraine war rumbles on destructively, one of Russia's oldest allies, India, has been on constant geopolitical spotlight. Why is India going soft on Putin's invasion? Is India alleviating the impact of Western sanctions on Moscow? Why is India still buying Russian oil and weapons? Has India aligned itself in a deeply polarized world since Putin's tanks rolled into Ukraine? The answers to all these questions came when External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar put the record straight in Parliament, stating that a fearless India is charting its own course in global diplomacy.
If India has chosen a side, it is the side of peace.
Hours ago, Jaishankar had spoken to his US counterpart, Antony Blinken. In the backdrop of increasing disquiet in the West over India's indications to buy larger volumes of discounted crude oil from Russia, soon after a dire warning from the White House against buying oil or weapons from Putin. But India's message was unmistakable.
We don't believe it's in India's interest to accelerate or increase imports of Russian energy and other commodities. Right now, just to give everybody the full scope of it, India's imports of Russian energy represent only 1% to 2% of their total energy imports. So while he explained both the mechanisms of our sanctions and reiterated that any country or entity should be abiding by those, we also made clear that we'd be happy to be a partner in reducing their reliance or even their small percentage of reliance on that.
Like all countries, we too are assessing the implications and deciding what is best for our national interest. Members are aware that in a complex and globalized world, every nation takes into account the reality of interdependence. Therefore, even as they express their position in words and deeds, they also adopt policies that safeguard the well-being of their population.
It began with US Deputy National Security Advisor Dalip Singh, who made the seemingly callous, intemperate remark, lecturing India on how Russia would not step in if China escalated operations at the border. a remark that has been widely derided, including by India's former ambassador to the UN, who labelled it as coercion.
What we are seeking to do, whether it is in the context of India or other partners and allies around the world, is to do all we can to see to it that the international community is speaking in unison, speaking loudly against this unjustified, unprovoked, premeditated aggression, calling for an end to the violence.
India, as you are aware, has always been in favor of resolving differences and disputes through dialogue and diplomacy. In our meeting today, we will have an opportunity to discuss contemporary issues and concerns in some detail.
India repeatedly putting its national interest as sacrosanct, refusing to get drawn into a damaging Cold War of superpowers, turning the proverbial page in global diplomacy. Bureau Report, India Today.